Dracula is a fictional character from the Bram Stoker novel, based off old Eastern European Slavic legends, and as far as the name based off of the infamous Vlad III Dracula, or Vlad the Impaler. He's been played and rehashed tons of times on TV, on the big screen, or at theaters. But we already know that. Let's have a closer look at the deep symbolism that lies at the root of the Dracula myth. Who is Dracula really? Stay tuned and find out. Dracula, the non-human. Dracula isn't a social being per se. He engages in interactions with individuals, but only to gain completely selfish profit out of them. Although he claims that he too can love, his worldview is that of a predatory creature, and he looks down upon ordinary human beings for their reluctance to explore their primitive, darker impulses. Dracula lives alone. He is a solitary and parasitic beast for which love, the quintessential human component, can never be earned or truly felt. He needs people to feed on their hair. He needs people to feed on their blood and further his empire, not to engage in loving relationships. About the term beast. From ancient mythologies BC all across the globe to current cinematic depictions in the 21st century, monsters are really just hybrid animals. There aren't actual monster features. Monster features are just animal features. And all of the most frightening characteristics of fictional monsters are just characteristics of actual real-life animals. Menacing sharp teeth, pointy ears, long claw-like nails, starving wide-open eyes, all of which Dracula possesses. And as in ancient mythology with its hybrid monsters, the most frightening and disturbing hybrids are the ones that blend human and animal characteristics together. Like mixing a human person with animal features is the most revolting, unnatural, and unholy combination. Harpies, the Sphinx, Nure Onna, Dracula. The term beast comes from the Latin bestia and literally means an animal, and we can see where the entities of animal and monster meet. A mere boar or crocodile are beasts, but we all have a grasp of what the beast inside is, and why the devil in the Bible is referred to as the beast. The shock value in hybrids comes from reducing a human person to the state of an animal, stripping him from his dignity and from his soul. He now only roams the earth in search of food, to eat rather than to be eaten, without any greater purpose or calling, bereft of his divine seed. Dracula, hater of the light. Dracula's antisocial behavior is best symbolized in his inability to cope with light. The light of day here is in part a symbol of facing the world, being out in the open and confronting life head-on, despite all of one's flaws and shortcomings. The obscurity of the night in which he thrives represents the fractured social compass of the recluse antisocial individual. His preferred element, that in which he feels utterly at home, is a place where people can't reach him, where his inherent brittleness is cancelled out. The nightly shroud removes all opposition, any rivalry or competition to his hegemony. He shines in the dark, in the shadows behind society, behind the dynamic, ever-changing world, which he refuses to embrace. He refuses to accept the reality that everything and everyone eventually withers away, himself included. He refuses to accept that mortality is the sine qua non condition for existence in this world. He refuses the erosion of his young skin and elusive charm, and of his entire self. He remains in the dark, far from the light as he can, to perpetually postpone his inevitable collapse. Simply put, he denies God, or the natural order, and defies the light shed on him, not owning up to his responsibility and delaying his impending doom. He refuses death. This brings us to the part about the mirrors. Dracula won't go out into the light, or he'll disintegrate because he's a fake, a phony. So as we further unravel the extended metaphor, he can't face the truth exposing himself in daylight, the same way he can't look at himself in the mirror. Not that he won't, rather he literally cannot look at himself in the mirror. He doesn't have a reflection. which is also a metaphor for the fact that he doesn't have a soul. He's given up on it, and whatever human worth he may have once had, there is none of it left. It's the ultimate symptom of his diabolical con, and how he's cheated life and his way up to that point so dreadfully late and overdue. It is the epitome of procrastination against the natural order of physical existence. It is the supernatural symptom of Dracula's madness, thinking everything is all right, that he's alive, when everyone can see he isn't. It's like a kind of psychosis, Dracula's profound delirium. When he looks into the mirror, there's no one there. As far as the very fundamental laws of physics state, he doesn't exist. He has no weight, no warmth. Dracula and sacrifice. It's a fairly sensible maxim that any society that strongly favors selflessness will enjoy good longevity and a strong foundation, and conversely, a society that strongly favors selfishness will quickly succumb to the effects of that fatal sin. Life is inherently about sacrifice. A young man and woman sacrifice their freedom as bachelors when they come together, make children, and start a family. They take on new, heavy responsibilities and duties, and have very little time left for themselves as individuals. The notion of sacrifice is totally central in human cultures universally. A quick look at how revered it is in movies or in a real-life situation testifies to that. Think of how much admiration the local hero received from all as he put his life on the line to save that girl from getting squashed by a careless driver. Well, Dracula is the opposite of that. He indeed practices sacrifice, but sacrifices the lives of others, many others, for his one single self. What's more, his victims need to be virgins, emphasizing the cruelty of the act and the bestial nature of his lust and hunger. It also expresses the epidemic-like devastation of Dracula, as those young women wouldn't have birthed any children and thus contributed to the perpetuation of mankind. He is the agency of death and of barren, meaningless existence. It's in that sense that he is the ultimate icon of sin, as just like Lucifer in the Bible, he drags other people down with him in his own personal hell. And it matters not just how many lives he's ready to waste, how many souls he's willing to damn. As long as he can buy himself just that tad bit more extra time. He lies to himself that he's eternal, and makes his lie into flesh, the flesh of the innocent. The garlic thing. Garlic was used in many civilizations and countries as medicine, and for instance, to strengthen their warriors. Garlic has powerful antibacterial properties. It was believed in areas like Egypt or Eastern Europe to fight off evil spirits, and was often scattered around in tombs to protect the dead in their afterlife. Dracula can't stand garlic, holy water, or the sign of the cross. Dracula is the polar opposite of a healer. He is a murderer, and any medicine is poison to him. All symbol or item that represents holy love, healing, or life has the opposite effect on him. Dracula has no substance, no warmth, and no love. Love means sacrifice, and as mentioned, Dracula sacrifices never his own self, but others. So who is Dracula really, besides being a folk/pop culture legend? Dracula is the devil incarnate. He is the fantasy of the hybrid beast unleashed. The dreamer's curse made real. The fall of civilizations. Dracula is the undead bane that pulls all of existence below into the abyss where there is no light, and swallows the world whole. He is the destroyer of sacred creation and the enemy of love.